Welcome to another episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. I'm your host, Rafi Pinsky. Make sure, as always, to subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, leave your comments for all of your South Florida real estate needs. Follow me at Rafi the Realtor. Make sure to check out my weekly newsletter as well to stay in the know of everything happening in South Florida. Today we have the unfiltered, very raw, doesn't give a damn Israeli girl who has been discussing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, geopolitics, the history. Very intelligent young lady. Again, very unfiltered, says whatever's on her mind. And so made sure to get her on the podcast. We have Rebecca Bar-Sef. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, that's me. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's her. That's her indeed.
I love how many times you said unfiltered. It's like you warned the crowd, especially, I guess, if you come from the United States, English-speaking crowd, or, those who I affectionately or lovingly sometimes refer to as the euphemism-speaking island dodo mentality people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
No,
my God.
it's gonna be first of all, my podcast is usually very unfiltered, but I know specifically I enjoy having a fiery Israeli woman on the show to just not play any games. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. So definitely seen a decent amount of your content, and you are definitely somebody who, as far as I know, does not believe in any kind of two states, from my understanding.
Absolutely not.
Right, 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 exactly.
I'm way more. Um, it's even not the right framing for me.
Go into
It's
that.
not that I don't believe in two-state solutions. It's just that I believe that some people shouldn't have a state in general, and that
Mhm.
includes most of the Arab countries.
Right, right. So let's unpack that because we got a lot to talk about. Bada bing, guys. Strap in, put your seatbelts on, get whatever kind of snack, caviar, popcorn, pizza,
Yes.
um, the crumbs behind your couch, whatever you like to eat when you watch a podcast. So, Rebecca, thanks again for coming. Now, we've been at war for about 2 years now. There are hostages. There was actually just a hostage that was, what was his name? Weiss Elon, but I forgot what his first name was. There was just a hostage that was found dead, I believe, this morning or a day ago. I'm sure you're familiar. Now I'm not exactly sure how many hostages we have left, exactly how many are dead, how many are alive, but we still have hostages,
Hmm.
and Hamas still exists. Again, I'm gonna go. I just had a Not Wolf on my show. I'm sure you know who she is.
Yeah, we've met.
And
We
oh, you
had
met.
a lecture event together in Jerusalem once.
I feel. Do you have you both seem to have? Do you agree with a lot of what she talks about?
Most of it, it just that my perspective is a bit different. The place
I'm
I'm coming
actually.
from,
You're coming from.
a different place. Like
I'm curious. I'm actually very curious to hear what you agree with and don't agree with. But let's push that ahead a little bit. Now, as far as the last 2 years, Israel has accomplished a lot with all its fronts, right? We have Yemen, we have Syria, we have Lebanon, we have the media war, we have Hamas, we have even internally we have Judea and Samaria. We got a lot of people we're fighting with. We got Iran, obviously. So Israel's been very successful in doing what it needs to doing what it needs to do. At the end of the day, we still have to figure out what's going on with Hamas and Gaza. Ultimately, the Gazans, not Hamas. I think saying Hamas is the issue is really ignoring the main problem, but the Gazans as well as the West Bank Arabs. So how have you seen the last 2 years play out? And what do you think Israel is maybe doing wrong? Playing into the public opinion too much, not being willing to actually do what needs to be done. Give me
I
Your
don't think
thoughts
it's
on that?
either of those. If I'm gonna be honest, I think the public is just impatient. They want things that need time to happen immediately. And by doing so, they are actually blinded to the full picture. I'm actually astonished with how well things are being done. Some things just take time. There is nothing you can do about it. You just like I can criticize things, but to be honest, what you see, what I can tell you that it's true or not true is different from those who can see the full picture and have all the data. So I can point out maybe this is not okay, but like being nitpicky like that. But I, on October 7th, first of all, like I was so relieved. I cried from relief
Mhm.
as my immediate reaction. And then I cried for many other reasons, but I also knew it's gonna be a war that would take years. And I did my like mental preparation for that, and I knew it's gonna take years. It's just some things take years. I cannot. I understand that. Okay, why is Hamas still there? Why is it? There is reality. Okay, there are things that we have to understand that it's complicated and do things right.
Okay, so break that down for me a little bit. Why did you think that the war would inevitably take 2 years? What gave you that?
No,
Because
I
of the
thought it would
hostages?
take a year longer
Longer. Okay, why is that?
because it's not a war against Hamas. It was a war from the get-go. It was a war to reshape the geopolitical reality of the Middle East. It had to take years. It was obvious.
Okay, why do you think this happened now? This seems like the Israeli government wanted this to happen, but the pot was boiling over. So let's have a very tough conversation. I
Hmm.
recently had Tal on the podcast, and we're talking about whether Israel knew about October 7th before it happened. Now, quite frankly, I there's no way they didn't. They at least knew that
Right.
Hamas was planning it. So of course,
Hmm.
there's a lot of people who criticize Israel, saying with Israel's intelligence and surveillance and information, they knew Hamas was going to invade. They knew when. They knew what time. They allowed it to happen, so they would have more of an excuse to go and just smash Gaza, right? And then just go about
Right.
their plans. Now,
Right.
as somebody who's very pro-Israel, somebody who served in the IDF, part of me is like, well, I don't want to believe that that's a possibility because that would sound terrible. On the other hand, from a
Hmm.
very pragmatic, logical, strategic military standpoint, I know how amazingly successful and capable Israel's intelligence is and Israel's military is. And it's hard for me to imagine that they wouldn't know about this going down. So I'm a bit conflicted. I don't have the honest answer, but I'm also not going to shy away from the possibility. I'm not afraid to on my podcast to say that from a very strategic standpoint, Israel might have said, "Hey, Hamas is not going to be able to take over us. We might have to take a heavy hit, but we can inevitably do what we need to do because whether they do this now or they do this in 10 years, Hamas's goal and the Gazans' goal will always be to try to destroy Israel. And
Hmm.
so whether we do it now or we do it eventually, this has to happen. The takeover of Gaza is inevitable. They're building
Right.
so much the tunnel network, what they were doing they were they were putting all of their effort. Gaza was is literally a military playground. It just happens to have some restaurants and other things going on, but it is the entire purpose of Gaza is to attack Israel. And so, yeah, like I said, whether it happened now or later, it was inevitable. So, what's your
Well,
take?
so here's the thing. It's a multi-layered question and it's a multi-layered answer. But to make it more relatable and simple, I'll start with a question. Where do you think Europe is heading the way it is right now? Where do
Oh,
you
fair
think
enough.
United States is heading? Where do you think New York is heading? Do you think Trump doesn't know where it goes to? Do you think people don't know what would happen Do you think is it not going to happen, or is it going to happen?
I think America still has time. I
Right,
think,
but do you think you can reverse it before it happens?
I mean, okay, here I'll give you my honest answer.
Mm,
Places like Paris, parts of France, England, even Australia, a lot of parts in Europe, Sweden. I think they're totally screwed.
right.
I think in the United States, it really depends. And in the United States, if the government and the
It's
populations
it's per
take,
city, right? It's Minneapolis versus it depends.
yeah, I think in the United States, for example, in Dearborn, Michigan, you have the heaviest Muslim population in the country. There are a lot of Muslims in Dearborn that are kind of, they're not very religious. They happen to be from, Arab families and Muslim families, but the sons, they go out clubbing and they party and they drink and they're not really religious at all. And then you have some of them that are
Doesn't
very
matter.
religious. Yeah.
It
Well,
doesn't
we'll
matter.
talk.
I'm gonna tell you right away. That doesn't matter.
Okay.
If they
Okay,
party or
so tell
not, that
me.
doesn't matter.
Okay, so tell me.
But like, no, continue, because I want to hear your take.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear that. But ultimately, I think it just comes down to what the overall American public thinks, because I think every country has
Right.
minorities. It's obviously a risk to have a large population of people who fundamentally disagree with your way of life with the West. But I think as long as the American public overall has a strong sense of identity, which currently they don't have in most of these major
Mm-hmm.
cities, and as long as the leader Trump has that same thought, so I think we have a good leader. But the problem is in places like Chicago, New York, LA, parts of Texas, even there's many other cities, Washington. We have a very, very strong young liberal crowd, young liberal, and the consensus is accept everybody, blah blah blah. Even though they don't accept certain people, like you know, if that group grows, there won't be any defense against Islamic
What if
extremism.
I told you to make sure that it doesn't happen in your countries? You have to burgeon all those enclaves, all those ghettos that are Muslim,
Hmm.
take down all the mosques and all the radicalization centers, take away all the weaponry that is accumulated there, but because it's accumulating there,
Hmm.
wherever you are. And you have to figure out what to do with that Muslim population that you have now seized. And that is the only way that you could avoid October 7th in your own countries. What do you do?
Man, I don't know. It's tough.
Exactly. It's tough, isn't it?
In Israel, in a way, it's actually easier. And
You
I'll
think, you think, which is, I think, is the number one mistake people make.
okay.
It's
Why is
not.
it?
It's not easier. People who are born into right after the Intifada, who served in the army, right? They went to their respective roles in the intelligence, in the army, wherever they were.
Hmm.
They were used to this false quiet for a long time. They didn't see
Hmm.
a buses explode. They didn't see anything. It wasn't there. And they had their Arab friends and they had their Muslim men, and the people are, and even in Gaza, like, right, you can see, like, there were parties. There are parties in Lebanon. Like, if you want to see someone, there is some place that is completely degenerate when it comes to partying, go to Beirut and Damascus. It's insanity. It's not, it's the number, the thing that people make that mistake assuming, right? In Israel, you pay faster. That's the thing. And it happens fast. But that doesn't mean, and you can say the same about the Druze. A lot of the Druze had celebrated the fall of Assad. Could they not see where it's going? Do you know what the Julani Ashara? I'm sorry. Do you know what he did in Idlib? Do you know what
Mm,
he did to the Druze in Idlib?
how long ago was this?
It was years ago, like way before he took power. Do you know
No
what he
way.
did there?
No.
He completely devastated their villages, forced converted them. it's the area in the north where he had control. He was absolutely intolerant and awful towards minorities, and he stated 10 years ago that his goal is to eliminate the Druze. And yet, when the Assad regime fell, people were rejoicing, and people were like, okay, maybe we can have a new future. There's going to be new Syria, something that blew up in their faces really quickly. The truth is, like, you have to understand that if you do something first, especially, right? If you are younger and you do something first, is if a lot of time is like, what? They didn't do anything to us. And a lot of people are illiterate when it comes to history, and they don't understand that, they don't see it, right? It doesn't what their older siblings did, it doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the younger siblings are going to do as well. So there is that element to it. There are a lot of things like that add up. And then, first of all, like, you can see the Druze, they were slaughtered. Does anyone help? Where was the United States? What was Marco Rubio's response? Oh, it's a clash between tribes, between the Bedouins and the Druze, when there were literal tanks that were brought in by Turkey to the ISIS government that went into Sueda, and every house was burned, and there are 40, like 40, 30, like a crazy amount of damage, and people that were burnt alive, and their houses are now they have they booby trap the doors so that you can't even count the dead. And where was the United States? What was it? Oh, it's just the war. And where's the world now? Do they pressure Jordan to open up a way for a humanitarian way into Sweden? No. Do they do anything? No, absolutely not. And what did they do on October 7th? On October 7th, they went ahead and rejoiced. You can, if you are under siege, you're gonna die. So there are so many reasons. And if you do something first, is if nobody, even the most right, I follow your your media and politics, even the most, you say I'm brutal, you're right. You just started this podcast saying, oh, I'm unfiltered, I'm brutal, like I'm being like super
not brutal.
in your
Brutal's
face,
definitely not.
right?
Yeah.
But you know what we both know what I'm saying, right? That means that even your most right-wing people who go out and say would not be willing to say, hey, we need to obliterate those ghettos that are now created by those Muslim enclaves, and that's the only way forward if you don't want to have October 7th kind of events or Sweda kind of events. Would anyone go out and say that? What would be, even the most right-wing people wouldn't dare to say it, even if they think it, because the truth is, most people, they don't want to be the first, and only trauma that you experience on your own skin wakes you up. And then on top of that, there is like a whole explanation on everything that goes going on. Just think about how much Netanyahu was mocked by the world for drawing this bomb, saying, hey, this is where Iran is at, and they're reaching the uranium. And the whole media was like making fun of it as like, oh my God, who is this delusional, paranoid person? Like, what is wrong with him?
Yeah, they've been saying that. They've been saying that for a
So
while.
if I need to become, like, if everywhere I go to speak, there needs to be a trigger warning, and even though the crowd is rather right-wing leaning, and it still needs to be, hey, it's going to be direct and everything like that, then the only way that you're going to wake up is when you experience it on your own skin. That's my news to you. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, what do you think? Well, we didn't really cover the whole October 7th. Meaning, do you think that Israel let it happen? I mean, this is a tough question, but
It's not, it's like I said, you have, first of all, who is responsible for it? I know how the intelligence worked, right? I was not happy with the way the direction the intelligence was going when I left it. same when it comes to soldiers on the ground, right? Or the directives they had, or the amount of pressure and the fake incidents that were, that were created in the between border police and and then you have this so-called Western media that like they made sure that the guard is down, right? And it was a world effort. It was a worldwide effort. It was 2 billion Muslims and 2 and how many billion Christians, like people who have history. But it doesn't even mean that they need to have history. Like, what's the difference between the Jews and the Druze?
What is it?
Is that that when we suffer, at least the world knows. Even though they celebrate it, at least they know. When the Druze die, their death is quiet. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
And it's true for Christians as well, ironically enough. Nobody cares most,
You know what's
like,
funny? If we were the ones hurting the Druze, oh, you better believe everybody would know about it.
there is this need to clean guilt, and there is a long brewing revenge that didn't come to fruition. So you have two sides: those who wanna feel like the Jews deserved what they got in Europe, and then there is the other side who wants to fulfill the prophecy that they have, which is to annihilate the Jews. And when you have two groups like that, well, let me tell you, at least we get attention, because you can die without getting any attention, which is what happens to minorities all over the Middle East. And Christians, ironically enough, they get way less attention.
It's an interesting point. Oh, well, regardless of what we do, people know about us. And I think these minorities, when the minorities don't have any tie to us, really, when we're not in conflict with them, nobody cares. It's just funny
Right.
that
So
if we were at war, if the Jews were at war with any of these minorities, the Kurds, the uh, Assyrians, Armenians, whoever it would be, the world would be rallying behind. The world would be like, oh, the Assyrians, the Jews are killing them. But otherwise, nobody gives a shit. It's crazy.
no. So it's a blessing and it's a curse. And I want to say, like, to Jews as well, we are a minority, but unlike any other minority, we are a minority with a voice, ironically enough.
Mhm.
We should,
Especially after.
we should know how to, we should be smarter about how we use our voices.
Okay. Okay. So I want to kind of move over to what's going on with Gaza now. You mentioned earlier that you're overall you're happy with Israel's successes with all of its fronts against all these enemies. Bibi's getting a
Yes.
ton of pressure. Now, when it comes to Gaza, what do you think needs to happen? Again, unfiltered take. Do you think they'll have to be killed or or expelled? Do you think Israel should take over Gaza completely? Um, do
Yes,
you think it's
basically.
okay? Yes to those things.
Yes, but I believe that there needs to be a choice. And I also think that something that we should keep in mind is the story of the dome, right? Get the just out, even if it's just one person. I think the idea that a person should have a choice is extremely Jewish,
Hmm.
and you cannot just. You need to, like, I think the way we have to be creative is to think how we present the choice. Like, how do we give a choice?
Okay, so when you say choice, do you mean you either you die or leave, or if you leave or if you stay, you have to abide by our laws? What kind of choice? What comes to mind when you think of choices exactly?
When it comes to, what comes to mind when it comes to a choice?
The
A
Gazans,
different value
specifically with the
system,
okay,
a new value system.
elaborate.
Let's start with the 10 Commandments. Do not murder, do not steal, do not covet. They don't have those. No minors, no sex with no consent. And I'd say in the end of the day, right, it's like, here's the thing. If it's like, they'll make their choice. Muhammad, what's his name? You know, the sisters, Gigi Hadid, they're dead.
Right.
Muhammad, he made a choice, like why he left Israel, like why his family left Israel. I think it wasn't even him. It was because they weren't willing to be under Jewish rule. So they left. It was their choice.
Oh, I agree. They should be able to have that choice.
I also think that we should be fair with the rest of the world and just, you know, I'm saying that this value system has to be adopted because if they're gonna go anywhere in the world, that still holds true. Doesn't matter where they go. Still Earth.
Right. So you're saying wherever they go, they have to follow the rules of that country.
No.
So what do you
I
mean?
say they have to change their value system.
Are you talking about Muslims in general or Gazans or quote unquote Palestinians? What are you talking? Who's they?
Well, actually Muslims, and not just Muslims, those who don't have the values, they should all be, it should make sense. There are things that you do not tolerate. But it doesn't have to be in one day. Okay. But at least, yeah, you're right. Like at least respect the law of the country, but you know what they do, they change the law. This is why I say they have to change their value system.
Humans are complicated. Humans are never going to get, I can say confidently, we're never going to fully get along. We're animals,
True.
we're intelligent animals.
So know with yourself when it's time to tap into your animalistic side and act accordingly.
Yeah, I think I think for the most part, especially a country that is an ethno, funny to call it an ethno state, but we have large percentage of the world has ethno states, and a country that prioritizes a specific, either ethno-religious group or an ethnic group, they need to have very clear guidelines and very clear rules for what they expect of the minorities in that country. And I think there should be a tolerance and tolerance and acceptance only if the beliefs of that minority can work with the country's laws. So, meaning if we have Muslims in the country, they're effectively not going to follow Islam, meaning they're not following the Quran to its, they have to basically say, we're Muslims, but we're not going to take up any violence against you. And that's a risk that we're taking, meaning Israel, by having any Muslims in the country, is going to be taking a risk automatically from the get-go.
Yeah.
I just don't think, we've had minorities even in ancient Israel when Jews had kingdoms.
But do you want to get into that?
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
Because I actually want to make a video on it, so I kind of don't want to spoiler. But you know what?
Okay, so don't
let me
spoil it, yeah.
start here. It's the one case of justified slavery.
Oh, okay. What is that? What do you
This
mean?
is when you talk about, so the way that you can fix it potentially, right? When you have a minority, is that first of all, you need to make them productive. Right now, the Gazans, they don't work. They cannot feed themselves. The only thing that they can do is run some schemes, like pyramid schemes, embezzle. Like it means like they are criminals per se, or beggars, because they don't work. They don't have anything. They ruined their industry. That anything that was built before, they ruined it. basically they're unproductive and then don't work. So the first thing that you need to do is to make them work. These are people who don't want to work. This is also part of it, right? This is where you can say, okay, this is what slavery originally, if you take away the unnecessary inhumane treatment, in the end of the day is making people who want to still work, making
Well, let me
criminals
push back on
work.
that. Let me push back on that, Rebecca, quickly. Just thinking about
Yeah.
what the listeners would be thinking. You know, listeners especially who are maybe anti-Israel and very pro-Palestinian might say, "What do you mean? You know, I know there's a very high unemployment rate, but that's because the Gazans are besieged, they are blockaded, they don't have the ability to get certain materials and become innovators and inventors like the Israelis. But there are still Gazans that do have jobs. You know, they work in restaurants, they work in a knafa shop, or they work in farming. There's an incredibly high unemployment rate, but there are Gazans with
80%
jobs,
unemployed.
right?
And it
Is it
was that
80%?
like that before. Yeah, it was like that before the war. Something crazy, at least 70, 80, something
Yeah,
crazy.
no, it was insanely high,
And
insanely high.
women, yeah, no. They are professional money beggars.
It's true though. It is true.
And
Um,
and you can almost think about like those who have restaurants. Is it maybe they're just bored, you know?
You know what I think it is? I just think it's a mentality of what's the point in trying to, succeed or become this is not our permanent situation, meaning our goal is to take over the whole land of Israel.
And then
So
what? You don't need to work
why
anymore?
I think pretty much the society, it has become such a fundamentalist society. We're refugees here, quote unquote. We need to defeated the Jews, and then we can then have normal lives.
And then they're gonna work 9 to 5.
Yeah,
People who
yeah, yeah,
never
yeah, yeah,
learn.
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work this way. You can
Of
never
course
do
not.
something you've never done.
Of course not. Okay.
So when I say like it sounds like bad, but like people are like, what is slavery? It means that yes, because there is a force element to it. They would want to continue embezzling, like having those schemes, like work 1 hour a day and that's it, maybe. But no, they need to work. And then when you make them work, you also have to re-educate them as well. Like take over their education system, and then it takes several generations for people to completely adopt the values of a place.
Okay. So
And that's what they did in the Bible. They didn't always do it right,
uh,
but that's the basic idea.
well, what was an example of? Do you have an example of when they did it wrong back in the day? I
Well,
mean, meaning a long, long, long time ago, maybe during
yeah,
the Bible.
because they took as slaves people who should not be taken as slaves. They have like there is an example like that,
Do you want to save that
and
for
they
your
were
video?
punished for it.
Okay.
I don't like it's just that it's not. That's the thing with it, right? It's like you need to know who needs that and who doesn't.
Okay. So Rebecca, what do you think about the Gazans now? Meaning, you know, I I'm asking you these questions. You're welcome to ask me some questions too, but I'm not a listen, if you listen to my videos, I'm not a filtered guy either. Like I say things that
Right?
are very like, you know,
Yeah.
so I'm not trying to put you on the spot because I'm happy to share my opinions too. Um, but what do you think needs to happen? And what do you think will happen now with the Gazan people? As far as like, can some of them stay? Will we be able to actually have a long lasting peace if some of them stay? Do they all need to get the
Do you
hell out?
want
And
do you want me to
will
say
they?
what I
Yeah.
think will happen?
Yes.
I think that a lot of them would move out and they would be killed in their new host countries. That's the vast majority of them.
I think a large amount of them would be killed in their host countries if their host countries were neighboring Levantine Shami
N-
countries.
No, all
For
of
sure.
them. but not necessarily immediately. Yes.
I don't know, in Europe or the United States, I actually think they'll be fine.
Everywhere.
Okay. There's a lot of Palestinians that live in America. Nobody's killing them.
Not now, but it will happen.
People might try to kill us too, though. I don't know if they're going to be singled out.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing.
What do you mean?
It's not gonna necessarily happen in a one day either. It's just that they're gonna slowly get like less and less and less and less.
Okay, but so that's speculative. So if you're saying that they're going to be killed in other countries, what are you insinuating?
If you have a criminal mindset, at some point, a policeman will shoot you.
Okay.
And that's what I think would happen to them. Even if it doesn't take a day, it might take 100 years. But I think that that the trauma that most Gazans had experienced by now is so deep. Listen, there's gonna be a 1 in a million that there are gonna be people who would not fall into it, right? There are gonna be people who are not gonna suffer through this fate. There are always miracles. The vast majority of them, I don't think
you're
they
saying
would.
it's too far gone. You're saying they've gone through too much. They're already like
I had this, when did I have that argument at first?
You know what I like, Rebecca? You know what I really like about my conversation with you? You don't just have this emotional conversation. Well, you really, from what I'm experiencing, which I really enjoy because you cut all the bullshit, is you just look at it from a human nature perspective. How do humans respond? How do they behave? Not about, and you're also talking about Islam and its issues, but it's just like humans are humans and humans are going to do what humans do.
Exactly, yeah.
And I really like that. I love this element because you don't see it enough. And a lot of people don't have the stomach. They're too sensitive to have this very tough but necessary conversation because the more the the left side and the right wing and the left wing and all, it doesn't matter what political avenue you belong to, the more we can have these very tough raw conversations of the human psyche and what drives us to do good things, to do terrible things. That's how we really start to understand why things work the way they do.
Actually, this is why I have my course, Understanding Humanity. This is what I do. It's like, that's understanding humanity.
That's why I think people have a very hard time with Israel being like, we are going to decimate Gaza. We're going to level the shit out of it. Stop doing what you are doing. Stop thinking that you have the ability to destroy us. We were way too nice to you. Like the fact is Jewish people, we are way too nice to our enemies. And that's why we're in a
Here's the
77-year
thing
conflict.
that I don't talk a lot about. From this month that I cried, maybe a bit longer than a month, that I spent crying every day, I dedicated a week crying for the Arabs. Because I knew, I was for them. It's tragic for their situation. The thing is, once I cry over something, I'm I finished the arc. I'm like, okay, that's I faced reality. I cried for it. I did my week. I dedicated a week for the Palestinians, believe it or not, crying for them, knowing that. And I had actually that argument where I wanted to believe a little bit better, but it was actually my Arab Muslim friends 10 years ago that told me, listen, Gaza, the Gazans are gone. They're far gone. It's it was actually during the time where things were getting better and the situation was getting better and their economy was getting better and people.
Arab Muslim Israeli friends, meaning people in the country?
And Arab Israeli, Arab Muslim Israeli, who told me, you think what you see, there is a hope for them to get better? This is the impression there is right now. It was 10 years ago. I said, no, they're far gone. They're far gone. It's gonna go all the way. And I And not like if here's if something I can give myself a little bit credit. I know when somebody knows more than I do.
Mhm.
And I said okay, I accepted it, but I didn't understand necessarily.
And now you do.
And now I do.
Hmm. So now that the thing is, though, I know and you know that a lot of Gazans would leave if they had the if Egypt opened the Rafah crossing,
They would leave, but
they
it
would
doesn't
leave.
mean that they wouldn't face the same fate somewhere else.
No, I understand that, but I still think that for Israel right now,
No, it's better. It's for us. I
Knowing
mean,
how the Israeli government works, they'd be like, if you guys are ready to leave, peace, right? They'd be like,
mm,
good luck, and we'd wish the other countries good luck, right?
yeah,
But now that and there have been Gazans who have left, they're continuing to leave, but the majority are still here. You know, I checked ChatGPT, they're claiming all kinds of numbers that it's all speculative, but I've seen
so
videos of
lies.
yeah, nobody knows. Well, some people know, but we don't. I've seen
No,
some
I mean,
Gazans.
yeah, but I feel like the Israelis cooperate with that lie on purpose. It's very convenient for them to say there are 2 million. So when so that it's like, oh, there are 2 million. Don't worry, like the cause will still survive if we let 500,000 go. In reality, like if you take into account the amount of food, if you just calculate the amount of food that is being processed around there, it was always a lie. It's not even a million probably that live there or ever. Like the numbers were always fake.
So how many do you think are there right now?
So from what I saw, somebody who's like a physician who did like this mathematics, it's about 600, 800, maybe 800 is like the number.
6 to 800,000 that live there right now, that are actually in there now.
But like, let's continue. It's 2 million. So believe me, if you take 100,000, there's still going to be 2 million in there. So don't worry that, okay, because here's the thing, let's be honest. Okay. So this is what most of the world really worries about. They don't care about the Palestinians themselves. They want the Palestinian cause to exist. And the only way where they could think that the Palestinian cause continues to exist is if they think the population is way bigger than what it is.
Mhm.
And on the other side, right, they want to also give this impression as well, right? That like they cannot win against us because there are so many. Like the Palestinians had been faking their numbers for decades now. Like
Mhm.
how many? They count dead people, they fake everything. Like everything's fake when it comes to their numbers in the West Bank as well. And I was like wondering, like, why are we cooperating with that? It's not that hard to see the truth, right? It's like everybody that like gives humanitarian aid can see that how much you need to put, like how much needs is consumed, right? You can just
Right.
count that.
Mhm. But I want to talk, but I
But
want,
mhm.
no, I just want to kind of talk about what happened? Because it seems that we're just, okay, we're saying now the IDF is taking over Gaza City. It seems like, obviously, according to Bibi, the goal is to control Gaza. But, but what does that look like? Is Israel going to, are the Gazans going to leave? Are most of the, like, I'm just so, it's like, when you're waiting for a new season of your favorite show to come out, and you're like, what's it gonna be like? What's happening? Yada yada yada. You're so, you know, there's this cliffhanger. You're like, what the hell is gonna go on? What the hell is gonna happen? That's what I'm just really trying to figure out.
They're gonna go leave, obviously, most of them.
Right. It doesn't. Are they going now? When are they gonna go? How are they gonna go? Are they
Are
gonna
they
go?
going all the time? It's hard because there are countries who agreed to take them, and real fast they had to shoot them as well. Like Indonesia agreed to take them, and they got a few, and they started causing havoc and running amok on down the streets and like in Indonesia, going like attacking like parliamentary buildings, and like the Indonesians were like, what the heck? And Indonesia already has like this experience because they have this it's a
You
Muslim
sure?
country.
Really? Gazans were let into Indonesia and they started attacking. Really?
Yes, they started getting crazy right now, right? Like this war. The Indonesians already have this experience. Like they tried to do the same with the Uyghurs, right? The Uyghurs are being put into camps by the Muslims in China, and then Indonesia being the largest Muslim country in the world, were like, this is not okay, China. And then they were like, okay, they started accepting Uyghur refugees. And, a couple of years later, they came to China. I was like, okay, we get it now. We're gonna pretend nothing is happening.
Oh my God.
Indonesia tried, but
I'm
they
checking
learned the hard way.
ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not showing me. I mean, I'll listen.
I
It's very,
just it's what I saw.
no,
Maybe my
okay.
memory is wrong, but like I
All right.
listen.
Okay.
I just maybe they didn't attack it, but I think they went like in the center, like starting causing like they're probably still alive. I was just
Y-
joking, right? But like
Yeah.
they are
Here's
still alive. I was joking, but like you know what I'm
right.
saying.
Do you think here's an interesting question though. Do you
Mm.
think, for example, if a Gazan child was raised by somebody that didn't have those beliefs, would they be totally normal? Do you think the Palestinians have like this inherent, evil in them, or are they just brainwashed by religious fanaticism?
Some of them.
Some of them what?
Some of them it's inherited. Maybe rather surprisingly a significant percentage, especially when you have so much cousin marriage. And
Okay.
and also psychopathy is genetic. And psychopathy is celebrated in Gaza. So those who are psychopaths, they have more children than those who are not. I don't know how much this is it's like how much it managed to be like statistically significant, but it might be.
I mean, in Jewish history, we've had quite a lot of cousin marriage, but it didn't lead to those things.
Well, it didn't help either.
Somehow we still had
Ju-
pretty
Just,
high IQs though.
yeah, but just because it's a different kind of crazy doesn't mean it's not crazy.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm so interested in unpacking that. What, you have a whole science on that too? You can like break that down also?
Well, there are a lot of neurological diseases. There are a lot of things like, and it's like it's the crazy that Jews have. Like there are some.
Neuroticism, like anxiety, right?
I, I don't know. To me, I think like I know there is something, but like I didn't dive into it. It's not, and just because something is wrong, it doesn't always mean it's dangerous.
Yeah.
But sometimes the wrong is also dangerous, so that's a problem.
Human behavior is fascinating. It is so fascinating. Here's what
But
I think.
also like think that like a lot of it was was removed or eliminated in the Holocaust.
Why is that?
Well,
The
because
strong ones
after
survived more?
I I think so, like people who saw it coming were more prone to leaving. Um, there is a lot, and a lot of those community and then those who survived, like it couldn't be cousin marriage anymore. So
Right. Right. Ah, it's so interesting. That's so interesting. I mean, I
so
do
so
think
it might have been worse like 100 years ago when it's clearly like everything's cousin marriage, but we don't know like.
there's still a lot of issues
But
with
there
the
is
Ashkenazi,
yeah,
like
there
Ashkenazi
still is.
Tay-Sachs and Crohn's disease and different disorders, anxiety,
Parkinson's.
just anxiety, man. Anyway, um, yeah, with Gaza though, here's the thing. I don't think that human beings are necessarily, and let me elaborate on this. I
Mm,
do think God makes some people bad. I don't
right.
think whole groups of people are necessarily bad genetically. I do believe, I mean, you could argue that there's an element to that. I
No, I'm
believe,
just saying statistics, but like it doesn't mean everyone. It's
no,
different.
so let me just give my point. I think with the Gazans, they have been, you know, Islam, a fundamental, I wouldn't even say fundamentalist Islam, real Islam has been, they have been what's the term I'm thinking of? A pot for it, or a vessel for it. And all of these other
Right.
countries that share those values said, hey, we don't want to fight with Israel directly, but as long as you're there to constantly keep punching them in the ribs to be a thorn in their side, you'll be the vessel to do that. We'll throw you into the fire so we don't have to do it. All these other countries.
Right.
And so the Palestinians now have become this vessel of terrorism because so much of the Muslim world refuses to accept that this land is ruled by Jewish people because it is commanded by Islamic teaching.
There is another element to it that people ignore. Gaza
Mhm.
wasn't a closed space. It's a lie. That means people, there are a lot of them that say that they moved to Gaza and people who moved out of Gaza. So
Right.
think what kind of people would choose to move into Gaza and what kind of people would choose to move out of Gaza. And it's the same in Syria. You can see like the reports there. People are gathered from all over the world, all over the world, like Uzbeks, Uyghurs, Chechens. They are now in Syria, and everybody that is not in that club, they are getting out. So what would happen?
What would happen?
You get if psychopathy is genetic,
Okay.
and those who are psychopaths migrate into, and those who are not migrate out of.
It's funny because Saudi Arabia, do you ever hear of this guy Loay al-Sharif?
Yeah.
So he talks about the fact that the West is taking in all of the worst people from these countries. So wouldn't that kind of argue your point to say that a lot of the bad ones are leaving, or some of them? It's very confusing because hold on, let me unpack this for a second. Let me kind of just put this together in my head. When you have a country that's in the shitter, when you have a country that's really doing badly, you have often what's called brain drain. You have the wealthy, successful, smart people
All
that
right.
often leave that country. But then you also sometimes have people that are degenerates that leave the country. So how do you determine that? Because you know,
Okay.
when
So I think there is an easy one. So you know Asharia, the beautiful person who is now ruling over Syria?
sure, yeah, yeah, yeah.
He moved to Iraq. He was like he quit. I think he was studying. He was went to university. Then ISIS happened, and then he moved to Iraq. Why did he move to Iraq? Because he wanted to go and kill.
Okay.
So there are people who are the worst of the worst, but they don't have like a constant need to kill. So they would choose to migrate to different places.
Hmm. Wild. Okay.
If you
I'm
want
gonna
to
have
kill, you're gonna move into Syria or Gaza.
right.
If you want to take over, let's say, but and use force that is necessary, even if you're like, but it's like not like there are so many different ways of being psychotic. It's like psychopathic.
It's funny because there's obviously so many people that would say Israelis are psychopathic. That's what
In
they would.
what way?
No, I'm just saying that's what people that they would say, because of what we're doing to the Gazan people.
I mean,
I'm not putting you
I
on the spot.
wouldn't.
I'm just playing devil's
No,
advocate.
I'm not. I'm because I think there is a very easy, there is a line. So there is a way that you know who is who. It's the torture versus clean kill. So that's the difference. Like,
You're saying the intentionality behind it, meaning dropping a bomb on a
no.
building
So if
versus.
people say like, are Israelis psychopathic? Well, Israelis don't just do what is needed, right? So the kill is clean. Psychopaths, like what did the Sinwar do? When he wanted to torture someone, he dug a hole in the ground, stuck his body there, and held him for 6 months alive, and then tortured him from time to time.
Well, how do
He
you keep
didn't
him
just.
alive? Oh,
Well,
kept it. You kept his head
he
above
dug a.
ground.
Yes, well, yes, but like he did something like the torture methods insane, like that are insane, but like they keep them alive for like 6 months, and slowly take away from them everything, their sanity, their like parts of their bodies. They pull out the nails, they beat you in the legs where it's really hurts, and they hang you, and then they
Well, I mean,
peel
is
your
well,
skin.
intelligence of most countries torture people they arrest. I mean, it's not like Israel doesn't
Well,
torture.
some of them are psychopaths.
You're saying because they have the ability to do that.
And not no, listen, like there is torture, he didn't get information out of him, he just did it for fun. They do it for fun, that's the difference.
Mhm.
So there is like, yes, I think those who torture to get information out of people, it depends how it's done, but it's like there is an element to it that is a bit off. But you have to have those people. You know who else you kind of want to be a little bit psychopathic? You want
100%.
to,
You need no. You
you,
need people. You
you
need
need
people
these
like that in a
people,
society. If we didn't have,
right?
yeah,
But the question is like, are they being? Is it like necessary evil, or is it like, if you want to eliminate a threat, a kill clean, it makes sense.
mhm.
Torture doesn't. They didn't like, this is like, don't you see like what they did? They raped, they tortured, and then they killed, and they enjoyed the process. It was like it's not even professional. It's more professional to just kill and move on
Right, right, yeah.
faster.
No, they enjoyed. No, don't get me wrong. They enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a different
But
subject.
that's the difference. That's the huge
Yeah,
difference. It's the same with animal slaughter.
yeah. Even
Uh,
Israelis, like let's. What were you about to say? Yachma?
Like apparently, like I don't know much about halal slaughter, but it's actual torture for the animal the way they slaughter it. It's uh, like even that they do in a horrifying way. But they kill in a horrifying way.
You
They
sure about
torture
that?
people. Halal
Halal.
slaughter. That's something that surprised me. But apparently, it's very different from kosher slaughter. Kosher slaughter, they have a whole set of rules to make sure the animal doesn't suffer. And and um, and I
Mm,
thought it's the same with halal, but from what I've gathered, like from what I've heard, it's actually very torturous. The halal slaughter is
I
very.
would be. I would just. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I just want you to before.
No, you can like check it, like
I don't think the
100%, double
halal
check
active
everything.
slaughter invocation, the cut using a very sharp knife, the slaughter makes a swift incision across the throat, cutting the trachea with the esophagus, the two jugular veins. The spinal cord is not cut along the animal's heart to keep beating and pump out the blood. Animals allowed to bleed out completely as blood consumption is prohibited in Islam. They do it very similar to us. I would. I'm not sure if halal is going to
I
be.
thought so too. I just, from what I understood, listen, we need to bring an expert
That's.
for that because this is the one thing like
I'm just
I
saying,
don't
Rebecca, that
understand.
that's something. Don't be so confident about that. This one.
I'm not confident. This is one thing that I
Okay. Okay.
heard
Fine. Fair
that
enough.
could be true, but but
I think
I'm
they
not an
copy
expert.
us.
I
I
thought
think
so.
halal.
I thought so. I thought so. I thought so, but not
Mhm.
exactly. There's something different, and I don't know enough about slaughter to understand it. So I was like, you know what? There's something there. If somebody can explain it to me, but from what I understood, there is a difference there. But anyway, but even in slaughter, right? Like even there, you can say it. Like what kind of slaughter is okay or not okay. Now, I don't know how Muslim slaughters, but like obviously the way they torture, like it's unnecessary. It's also what I think. When people ask me about like torturing like the Nukhba, I say don't torture them, just kill them. Like don't, like that's the difference, right?
Yeah,
That's the difference.
I think we're I think we're
But obviously when it comes to like innocent people, oof, that's extremely unnecessary.
yeah, I think that this part of the conversation is a bit more speculative. I do think
What
that
what you don't know how they do their kills? Like when I
no, I'm
talk,
not.
they do it
No, no, no,
about
no.
we're talking about humans.
Hamas definitely many of
Oh,
them, maybe most of them enjoyed that when the Israelis were suffering, I would say, but I wouldn't say that maybe all Gazans
or
would. What?
I didn't say all Gazans.
No, no,
We're talking
I'm
about,
not saying that you said that. I'm not saying that you said that. I'm just adding to it. Um, I think
but they
ultimately,
paraded bodies around. It's not normal.
I know they have a different set of rules. They
No,
live
they're
very differently.
it's
Yeah,
well,
yeah, no,
it says
it's a level
something.
of
Okay,
savagery. It's a savagery.
it's
There's no question.
okay. Yeah,
I don't disagree with that. So now we basically covered what you think is going to be. Um, that most of them are going to leave. So do you think that we need to kind of, I guess if most of them leave, we're just going to have settlement there like any other city, right? I mean, that's what makes sense.
no, it's gonna take time to clean it up, but yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And what do you think of this Greater Israel thing that everybody's talking about, everybody's up in arms about?
I think you cannot argue with God.
Mhm.
Honestly though, it's I think there is something to it because like there is at least power projection needs to go that far, not necessarily like the real borders.
Mhm.
Uh, it might make more sense geopolitically to make the area stable. Do I think that we have to? I think here's the thing, okay? If it was up to the Israelis, Yishuv, then it would end with the 48 borders, right? Or the even the partition plan, the Jewish state would be there, the Arabs would be there, and everything's fine, right? It
Okay.
was it, and then the 48 borders are not the same as the partition plan borders.
Mhm.
And because the like you know the Israelis said okay they were fine with the partition, but let's say I don't know the globe was not fine with the partition, so it turned into 48. That turned into 67. That turns into what's happening now. And so what do I think about the Greater Israel Plan? I say it be like if you wish it enough, it will be true.
Okay. Interesting. I don't see I know there are definitely people in the government that would like to see it. I don't think it's
It's not our choice. Did we choose to have the 48 instead of the partition plan? No. Did we choose 67? No. Will it be
yeah.
our choice? No, it's not going to be our choice. That's what I'm saying. I don't think people understand that maybe something is out of our hands.
In a spiritual sense or
Hmm?
in the sense of our enemies forcing us into that position or in some kind of spiritual sense.
No, in the end, geography wins. I don't know if that the Greater Israel people draw makes sense geographically. But whatever makes sense geographically, that would win.
Right. Right. I hope we can just listen. I hope we can just largely put ourselves in a position where there's a lot less fighting without needing to take over more land, because taking over a
So,
lot more land.
so because we live in the Middle East and it's a geopolitically unstable area, the only way to stabilize it is to have some borders that would make the area more stable. It's not, you cannot win geography. That's what I think. There is a war that you cannot win against. There are things that are, Mother Earth, however you want to put it. There are things that are stronger.
We just had
There
a
is
very
a reason there was no country here until the Jews came back. It's for a good reason.
Why is that?
Why is that?
Mhm.
This, I think this geopolitical area maybe only managed to develop its own identity and civilization, maybe because of the Bronze Age collapse. Because it's a bridge, it's a land bridge. It's like you live in a bridge. It's like it's insanity per definition. Living on a land bridge is insanity per definition.
You're saying by the way Israel is geographically located and the way it
Yeah,
connects
yeah.
Jordan and Egypt?
The way it connects Asia, Europe,
Right.
and Africa. Yes, it's a bridge. You know this song, כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד?
Yeah, yeah.
Israel is a very narrow bridge, geopolitically. And it's always been insanity to think that a bridge could be like. But it also didn't really belong anywhere in sense of it's not the north and it's not the south either. So it's a bridge. It's a bridge between Asia and Europe, and it's a bridge between like Africa. It's a bridge. It's a
You could
weird,
say that
weird place.
maybe that's the symbolicism.
My speculation is that the Judaism, like this whole area, would have not happened if it wasn't for the Bronze Age collapse.
Can you elaborate on that?
So because there was a huge civilizational collapse, there was a relaxation of this area functioning as a bridge, so that something could develop here. Otherwise, it's like it's people pass. And because it's such a narrow point, right, there is a lot of tension. And it's like, okay, we go and blah, 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 and it always like changes hands all the time. It's like it changes hands, like the Egyptian empire, the Assyrian empire, this empire, the Akkadian, like it changes hands because it's a bridge. It's like, and things like, and trade went through here, and it's like but it's such a narrow place. So when there was a period of a period of relaxation, suddenly something could grow here that was independent. Maybe.
So interesting. I never thought of it like that.
And that's why there's Lebanon is different, right? You think about the Phoenicians, but they are surrounded by mountains. It's a distinct area, which is separated. So the bridge doesn't go through Lebanon. It didn't go for the Phoenicians. And then you have the desert, which is not uninhabitable in a natural sense, right? It's passable. And then you have the fertile areas in the north and the south in Egypt. And then you have this land bridge, which found itself in the middle of it.
It is wild when you look at Israel on a map.
Yeah, it's insanity. And it's the funny thing is that there is no place like that on earth. You can say that a little part of Turkey is also similar, but it's not as narrow. So it's a very, very small bridge. It's like people say, "Oh, why is there always fighting here?" Well, imagine that you moved and decided to live on a bridge where everybody's passing. What do
Yeah.
you think it would look like?
So interesting. Yeah, no, it's a good point. And it also happens to have a group of people that control it. That's like it geographically, it's a terrible place.
It is, it's the worst.
And it's funny
But
because
but at the same time, it couldn't the Judaism could not have developed anywhere else, because nowhere else could you have the whole world, the whole philosophical world, everything that people think of, the way the cultural clash, the debate, the real tension point where all the ideas compete with each other. That's also Israel. So that's the other aspect of a bridge. On one hand, it's people like it's crazy.
Mhm.
On the other hand, though, where else where else would you have this insane clash of ideas?
So Rebecca, I have to ask you, and now we'll end this last point with this. I understand you to be somebody who you said you're an atheist, right? Is that something you
Yeah.
still believe? Okay.
Yeah, I
So
don't
you
care if there is a God. That's my definition. Like if somebody asks me, like I literally, God could come down, talk to me, and be say, cool, cool, bye.
That's insane. I don't think
Like
that's
I
I,
don't
I don't
care. I don't
yeah.
care, literally. Like I would like re-examine and be like, okay, interesting. So like, okay, so there is another layer of functionality, but whatever.
I don't know if I think you're just saying that. I think if like a
No,
spiritual being came to you, you'd be so mind fucked. You'd be like, I cannot believe this just happened
first of all,
because it's
like maybe if I feel like I'll be like, okay, maybe it's schizophrenia, but
well,
uh,
how about you cross that speaking of bridges, you cross that bridge when you get there. That's
yeah.
but you're talking about all this spirituality about the land bridge and everything and the way that all these
It's not as
civilizations.
spiritual. It's like open a map. It's like the closest to dirt and earth that you can be.
Yeah, yeah, this isn't religious conversation. I'm not religious myself. I believe in God, but okay, it's just so you just look at this from a simple, like a humanistic perspective. So from just to like quickly like get through this, I don't want to have a whole religious discussion right now. I don't have the energy for it, to be honest. But you your belief in Israel, Jewish people is more from an ethnic perspective. The religion doesn't play as much of a role. You just believe as the Jews as a people. I think like
No,
Einat does.
I believe it the best scientific experiment humanity has. Like I said, nowhere else in the world, if you open a map, especially if you open an ancient map and you look at the concentration of civilizations, you'd see that civilizations were enclaves, but that were far away from each other, except in one place. Israel was the only place where you had huge civilization with completely different kind of thinking. So the way women were treated in Egypt was absolutely different to the way women were viewed in Sumar. And notice the Bible, right? It starts from Abraham, going from the first civilization, visiting the second greatest civilization at the time, and then the whole story that right when he was like given his sister away, that wasn't a story of him like a moral story. That was actually a story of cultural clash. In Sumar, it doesn't matter that it's your wife or not. You give your to the ruler, and you don't like fuss about it. And then in Egypt, suddenly it's like, what are you doing? And so then there is this question, like, right? So like this is a civilizational clash, and suddenly you have like, those rules are better here. Those are ruled better are from here. And not only that, on top of that, like when you have this friction, it creates fire that was not there. And I think that Judaism, Jews, like everything, it's like the greatest scientific tension point for morality, value system, and like societal structures and building. Because this area like saw everything. It saw how civilization, how it goes up and how it goes down. The Bible, the stories there, it's a millennium of list of information gathering, of idea testing, of lots of things.
I find you and Einat kind of remind me of each other in a way. You're different, but it's like in a way you're so connected with like the history and the history of Jewish people in the Middle East, and but then you're also totally removed from the religious component. And I find there's this weird dance, even though you're like, yeah, religion, stupid, God, and whatever.
I
And
never said that it's stupid. I don't think it's stupid at all.
yeah,
I don't.
oh, you don't think it's stupid?
No.
So you think it's necessary?
Yes. But it's
Why is
like
that?
it's but listen, like it's a whole thing. Like, how do you define religion? What
Yeah,
does it
that's all. We can
mean?
have a separate episode for that because that's gonna be. Yeah, no, it's just interesting. It's just interesting. Okay, we'll. I don't like I said. I don't really have the like the mental. I don't even. It's funny. I don't because I don't even like having religious conversations all that much. It depends on my mood. We could have it if
I
you would
think
like
because
to.
people look at religion wrong. Religion was the first attempt of humanity to do science.
To do science.
Hmm.
Gotcha. Well, let's cover that. Let's cover that another time because I know we're gonna end up going down a whole rabbit hole. Is there anything else that you did want to just wrap up with? Any topic that maybe we glossed over that we didn't like go deep enough into that's just on the back of your mind that you wanted to just, if not, not, if not, we could just wrap it up. But I wanted to give you the floor just in case.
I think if we already touched on the scientific realm, our world, I don't know if people are aware, but one of the things that we're seeing around now is actually deterioration and failure of scientific development and continued um, discovery in the universities. And a lot of it is the same thing. Like I said, religion is an attempt in science. When you and it's actually like you can almost say like it's the first it's another way of looking at like it's more complicated than that. But the truth is like when you believe in false gods, then science fails as well. And I really encourage people to rethink a lot of things, not out of like their perceived ideas of group thinking, or even like group thinking is fine, but set up what do you want? Like you believe in life, you believe in your group survival, and then just ask yourself and experiment like scientifically what would reach this goal. And you'd be surprised how much you would find yourself aligned with Jewish ideas and values, and also like our like the and it's another way to understand the conflict, which I think is very important. I think it's more than anything scientifically, if humanity wants to survive, there is a reason. You know how they say, is there maybe there is a reason why the achievements, like the industry and everything, then all the scientific development happened in countries where certain philosophies were more prevalent. Maybe there is a reason why Newton was both this amazing mathematician, but also like this very devout Christian. Maybe there is something that is not that people overlook. And I think there is an intuition to that. People have some intuition, but it's also important to understand where it succeeds and where it fails, because like on it's complete, like it's not it's science. Science is not that simple. You have to
Yeah,
refine
because
it.
Islam had a golden age too. I mean,
It
Islam
it
definitely.
didn't. It didn't. What
So
it
how would you?
had,
Okay.
no, the golden age of Islam is the time where Islam wasn't Islamic. So in Baghdad, for example, the ideas of Islam were looked as like, okay, so it's written in a book, right? And then not to mention that, I think in the 40s, 30s, like third of the population was even Jewish in Baghdad, for example.
Right.
So a lot of it is either done by people who weren't Muslim or people who didn't believe in Islam, and Islam was new. And until there was this time of like revisionism where people are like, oh, we have to go back to our religion, this is when the golden age ended. Because just because Islam reached somewhere doesn't mean it actually sipped in.
That's interesting. I'll have to do my research on that.
So it was more of because it wasn't Islamic.
So you're saying they were innovative because of lack of deeply religious Islamic belief.
Yeah, they didn't believe in Islam at all, like in a lot of places. And then they had this, okay, let's go back to our roots, and then there was no more golden age. A lot of it was done by people who lived in Islamic areas that weren't Muslims, or people like who, yes, I'm a Muslim. Let me sign the paper. Can you leave me alone now? It's not the same.
Okay. Well, Rebecca, thank you
Thank you.
very, very much for joining me. It was a
Thank you for
pleasure.
having me.
It was absolutely, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, please go and follow Rebecca on Instagram at Rebecca Bar, like a chocolate bar.
Actually,
Rebecca.
I'd rather people follow me on YouTube, but Instagram is also great. But it's the same name.
Okay. So same name, Rebecca Bar-Sef, Barsef. Follow her on YouTube. Check out her content. Of course, subscribe to both of our channels. Smash the like button. Leave your
100%.
comments. Would you say?
Yes, subscribe, people, subscribe. Why are you not subscribed yet?
I know, right? It's unbelievable.
I know.
Do follow me at Rafi the Realtor for your real estate needs, and I will hopefully have you tuned into the next episode. Peace. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by clicking the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description, and I would greatly appreciate any support toward the growth of this channel. If you'd like to promote your business, nonprofit, or any other organization, you can do so by getting in contact with me via Instagram DM, cell phone number, or any other mode of contact. Until next time, thanks so much.